Hey there, Rappies. Rapper9198 here, and welcome to another edition of Ryan's Day Reading. So today, I'll be reading Chapter 8 of I'll Push You, titled Blind Faith. So this will be the next part of Justin and Patrick's 500-mile journey through the Camino de Santiago. So this is starting from the Roncesvalles. Yep. So now they've gotten 13 miles in so far. So let's see where this chapter will take them. So here's Chapter 8, Blind Faith. So this is starting from Justin's perspective. An early start to our second day finds us on a nice, wide trail leading away from the town of Roncesvalles, Spain. It's raining again, and we all don our raincoats. We've already learned to appreciate the easier parts of the trail, and as we move along at a steady clip, the gravel crunches beneath my wheels in a cadence that is almost musical. When we arrived in Roncesvalles that night, we were famished. Along with the 4 guys in the film crew, we descended upon a small restaurant where we ordered 4 servings of lasagna, 4 large portions of ham and eggs, 2 orders of croquettes, 2 orders of French fries, and 4 large pizzas, washing it all down with cold beer. By the end of the meal, not a bite was left. As we headed to bed with full stomachs and sore muscles, we hoped for an easier day today. This section of the Camino is increasingly wooded, but the canopy of trees isn't enough to shelter us from the rain. Periodically, Patrick or Ted will scout ahead to see what's coming around the next bend. Ted returns with news that a small river crosses the trail up ahead, and of course, the bridge is too narrow. Filled with a hard-won confidence from all the obstacles we overcame yesterday, Patrick and Ted decide to push me across the river at a full run. Fortunately, the water is only about a foot deep. Did I mention we're feeling confident? Ted is now at the helm and Patrick is at my side, taking a breather from pushing. Guys, we just went over the Pyrenees with a wheelchair, he says. If we can do that, we've totally got this. No sooner has he uttered those words than our melodious cadence is rudely interrupted by a cascade of raw notes. As Patrick starts to jog ahead to see what new obstacles the trail has in store for us, the sound of grinding metal erupts from beneath my chair, followed by what seems to be an explosion as the front wheel of my baby jogger on steroids breaks off. The aluminum weld securing the wheel to the frame suffered so much abuse yesterday that it finally snapped. I am now sitting in a 2-wheeled rickshaw several miles from the nearest town. Running back toward us, Patrick yells, "You have got to be kidding me!" He bends down and picks up the broken wheel from the damp trail. When Ted sees the jagged edge of the metal, he says, "Yeah, that's going to be a problem." Repairing the wheel on the trail is not an option. We need a welder, and not just any welder. We need someone proficient at welding aluminum. As it begins to rain harder, Ted exclaims, "We have a man in a metal wheelchair, and a storm is coming. We have to get shelter." As we discuss ways to keep the chair moving forward without the front stabilizing wheel, 4 sisters from Ireland start to pass us on the right. When Ted notices the vacant stare in one woman's eyes, he asks, "Are you blind?" When the woman says yes, Ted replies, "Ah, well, great." "What?" As I wince at Ted's response, he tries to dig himself out of the hole he's created. I mean, congratulations. Not any better, Ted. Fortunately, the women don't seem offended. As they continue on their way, Patrick says to Ted, "Did you just congratulate a woman for being blind?" Eyes wide with embarrassment, Ted says empathetically, "No, I meant congratulations on doing the Camino." Shaking his head and laughing, Patrick says, "Nice one, Ted." We begin moving forward with Patrick at the rear. While he continues to push my wheelchair, he now must also push down on the handlebars to keep the nose of the chair tilted upward. While Ted pulls at the front, pulls forward on my leg rest, and simultaneously lifts it up to keep it from slamming into the back of his legs, another group of pilgrims approaches us. An elderly Spanish couple and their friend who are walking short segments of the trail. Though I don't speak Spanish proficiently, I'm still able to understand most of what they say. The wife, Amelia, tells us her husband has Parkinson's disease, which limits his ability to walk long distances. So instead, they tackle a new section of the Camino every year. When they notice our predicament, they ask if there is some way they can help. Between Ted and me, we use our broken Spanish and a Spanish/English dictionary to tell them we need to get to shelter. They're not strong enough to help physically, but they walk alongside us to the next town as Patrick and Ted take turns pushing and pulling my two-wheeled contraption. It's a long 2 miles, but we make it with our new friends at our sides. After inquiring with a local merchant, we head across the little town to a shop with a sign above the door that reads, Soldadura/Panaderia. Ted points to the sign and laughs. "Does that say this is a welding shop and a bakery?" Yes, it does, I reply. Patrick walks to the door and pokes his head inside to verify. He comes back a minute later, chuckling to himself. One half of the shop is welding equipment, and the other half has ovens and counter space. We continue to laugh as we try to figure out the business model of this odd combination of services. When the young welder/baker comes out to look at the broken wheel, he quickly informs us that he doesn't weld aluminum. Aluminum welding is a very specific skill. The lower melting point and high heat conductivity of the metal make it tricky to get a good weld. The closest aluminum welder, he says, is in Pamplona, which is our destination for tomorrow. Troubled by our plight, Amelia and her husband invite us to the home where they are staying, which is in the next town along the Camino route. We gratefully accept their invitation, and Patrick and Ted muscle my chair the distance to a house where we are welcomed with hot coffee and cookies. Grateful to be out of the rain, we enjoy the next several hours of Spanish hospitality. Now that we're dry and well cared for, we turn our attention to troubleshooting how to get to Pamplona. When we hear the exorbitant cost of a taxi, we decide to commandeer Robin's car, which is being used to transport the film gear from place to place. After the guys unload all the equipment and remove all but one of the back seats for my wheelchair to fit, Patrick lifts me into the passenger seat, arranges my legs, and buckles me in. After the chair is dismantled and loaded in the back of the car, Ted and Patrick have a very short discussion about who will drive. Without your glasses, you weren't able to tell the difference between mud and asphalt, Ted exclaims. That was from a long distance, Patrick replies. I see Ted raise his eyebrows as if to say, are we really having this conversation? You need to be able to see things from a long distance to drive. Good point, Patrick says as he crawls into the one remaining seat in the back. After we express our gratitude to our hosts and say goodbye to our new Spanish friends, Ted slides in behind the wheel, starts the engine, and we're off to Pamplona to find lodging and, with any luck, someone who can weld aluminum. All right, now we go to, again, Patrick's perspective. Although I'm wedged into the back seat, I'm able to help Ted navigate our way to Pamplona. It doesn't take long for us to cover the same distance by car that would have taken a day and a half to walk with Justin's wheelchair. We had already planned to stay at a hotel in Pamplona, instead of in the albergues. And when they were able to adjust our reservation to accommodate our early arrival, we're happy we made that decision. Fortunately, the hotel has a spare hospital-type wheelchair we can use, and they offer us a place to lock up Justin's off-road chair while we look for a welder. Justin and I head up to our room while Ted drives back to pick up the film crew and gear. Once the guys arrive, we put Robin and his fluent Spanish to work, calling anyone and everyone who welds in Pamplona. After 2 hours, we have no leads, so we give up the hunt and head out to buy some groceries. Back in our room, we make some bocadillos, simple Spanish sandwiches consisting of meat and cheese on a baguette, and discuss our options for the next day. We have posted occasionally on Facebook since we've been in Europe, so our friends back home can follow our journey. As a result, the manufacturer of Justin's wheelchair has learned of our predicament and offered to send a replacement wheel. But this will take several days to arrive. Though it's great to have a backup plan, we need to be on the road sooner than 5 days from now. As we brainstorm ways to find a welder, Justin says, "What about a bike shop? They have aluminum frames. Maybe they know someone who can weld aluminum." We agree to pursue the possibility in the morning, but now it's time for bed. In spite of the stress and uncertainty, I find it surprisingly easy to fall asleep. Tomorrow we'll have answers. I just hope they're the ones we want. The next morning, we head to a nearby cafe to grab some breakfast. When I return from purchasing our café con leches and 2 plates of ham and eggs, I see Justin looking at me over his shoulder. "Did I do something wrong?" he asks. "No, why?" "So why'd you put me in timeout then?" he says with a smile. Sure enough, I'd been so focused on the task at hand that I didn't realize I had parked Justin off to the side in his wheelchair, in a corner of the cafe where his only view was the wall. Shaking my head sheepishly, all I can do is apologize. "I'm so sorry. I guess I was a little absent-minded. What can I say? I was hungry." After breakfast, Ted and I take turns, one of us pushing Justin in the borrowed wheelchair toward downtown Pamplona, while the other pushes the broken one alongside. Just as we locate the bike shop, the staff walks out for siesta. In Spain, this could last anywhere from 30 minutes to 3 hours, if they come back at all. So instead, we walk into a medical supply shop next door, where, as luck would have it, we meet Ramon, who knows a few things about welding and who happens to be visiting his girlfriend, who works there. Ramon examines the broken wheel before telling us that he doesn't weld aluminum, but he offers to call a friend who does. 10 minutes later, Ramon's friend is turning the wheel over in his hands and declaring it demasiado complicado. Too complicated. Ramon makes another phone call to another friend, but still no luck. The calls continue, and we find ourselves in a game of 6 degrees of aluminum welder in Pamplona. After too many calls to count, Ramon finds someone who might be able to help us. Justin, Ted, and I head out the door to tell the film crew the plan, and as we walk outside, I make the mistake of commenting to Jasper about a pretty woman across the street. "Are you serious?" he asks. "Yeah, she's pretty." Jasper howls with laughter and says, "Dude, that's a man in a dress!" I really wish I had my glasses. Armed with a plan, we are excited to get back to the Camino, but our trip to the welder will have to wait. Robin parked illegally back at the hotel, and his car has been towed. So we wait while he and Terry go to pay the 200 euro, I think it's pesos, right? Yeah, so $200 fine to retrieve the vehicle. Could this day get any worse? After we've waited for an hour, Robin arrives and we load the wheelchair into the back of his car. Robin, Mike, and I set out for the welder's shop, while Justin and Ted head back to the hotel to get some rest. Riding with Robin at the wheel is an adventure, in spite of the fact that I have a map in my lap and the destination circled in red. Robin pulls over every mile or so and asks for directions from anyone he can find. He shouts for the attention of people walking by on the sidewalk, people on bicycles, and even fellow drivers. At one point, he flags down a gentleman driving in the opposite direction. As the cars slowly roll past each other in the middle of a busy street, Robin is too engrossed in conversation to notice the pedestrian he hits. Fortunately, this happened at the breakneck speed of 4 miles per hour, and no harm is done. We finally arrive at the shop, unload the wheelchair, and take it inside to the fabricator, who we hope will solve our problem. As he runs his fingers slowly along the broken weld, I can see he is deep in thought. Nervous about leaving $8,000 worth of aluminum in the hands of a complete stranger, I turn to Robin and say, "Ask him if he can fix it." Robin poses the question, and the gentleman responds in rapid-fire Spanish. He says, "Come back at 10 o'clock tomorrow and find out." The next morning, with 10 o'clock rapidly approaching, I climb into the passenger seat of Robin's car while Jasper slides into the seat behind me. We make our way toward the fabrication shop, but none of the buildings look familiar. "Are you sure we're going the right way?" I ask Robin. He assures me we're on the right track. But after 30 minutes of driving, Robin resigns himself to the fact that we are completely lost. Employing his method of getting directions, he flags down a man on the sidewalk and asks for help. Turns out we've driven to the opposite corner of Pamplona. Robin gets his directions and hurriedly flips a U-turn, cutting off a car behind us, which, as you might expect when things are going wrong, belongs to two traffic officers. The lights flash on, the sirens sound, and we are pulled over. It doesn't take long to realize we are in the middle of a classic good cop, bad cop scenario. Good cop approaches the driver's window and begins talking to Robin in rapid Spanish. Robin replies apologetically and engages the officer in conversation. "What's going on?" I ask. "What are you saying to him?" "I'm explaining what we're doing in Spain, and I told him why we need to get to the fabrication shop." As Robin continues to talk with Good Cop, he stops periodically to catch me up on the conversation. At one point, he mentions the documentary and points to Jasper, who is filming the encounter from the back seat. When Bad Cop sees this, he comes unglued and begins yelling at Jasper. Jasper, who speaks fluent French, but only a little Spanish, turns to Robin for help. "It's illegal to film the police in Spain," Robin says, "so you need to turn off the camera. And you need to get out of the car." I'm usually pretty level-headed, but right now my head is spinning. While Jasper gets out of the car and Bad Cop runs his passport, Good Cop is still in conversation with Robin, who seems remarkably calm for having just been told the consequences for filming a police officer. So a 5,000 Spanish dollars, 5,000 fine, and potential jail time. I don't know if this is true or whether Good Cop is just trying to scare us. But Robin turns on some magical charm and continues talking about the broken wheelchair and our need to get to the fabrication shop. As Bad Cop reads Jasper the Riot Act, something comes over Good Cop, and he yells something in Spanish to his partner. The conversation suddenly turns. I don't know what has happened, but I choose to believe it is a little divine intervention, because now Bad Cop is asking us where we're headed and is offering to escort us. Totally bewildered, Jasper gets back in the car and we follow the officers through the streets of Pamplona. 30 minutes later, we arrive at the fabrication shop and the welder proudly presents us with a repaired wheelchair. As I examine the new weld, I look up at the man responsible for the repair. "Muchas gracias, señor." All right, and that's it for chapter 8. Man, I know, all I can say is that it's just still just such an inspiring story here. It's with all these obstacles, it's like things go down. It seems like things are going downhill and it's like bad situations are occurring, but then they find a way out of them and then they're able to get back on track. So I really like how that all works out there. And also, I think another thing I wanted to mention too, I think earlier on, like when they first arrived in France, and I didn't like how they didn't really have the proper accommodations for somebody who's handicapped. Small elevators, really like a step beyond the hotel door. Like, it's like, seriously, it's like they're not welcoming. They don't welcome handicapped people. Or people who are handicapped. I don't like to say handicapped people because that doesn't define who they are. They're always people first. So I never say handicapped person or disabled person. I say person who is handicapped or person with a disability. Because when you say it that way, it acknowledges that they're people first. Their disabilities are not their definer. And then I thought it was pretty ironic how they had how there was a welder slash bakery. When I first read that, I was like, I was like, that sounds like that was something that was meant to be. I thought that was definitely God at work there. But I mean, despite the fact that the welder couldn't weld aluminum, but still, I'm really loving the way this story is going, and it's nice that there's people who are helping, that there are people that they come across who actually help them. And I like that there is trust in that, which again is something I think the world really needs right now. Like, I feel like trust in the world now has become non-existent, which really sucks. And I don't like that one bit. It sometimes just sucks that there's so many, that there's a lot of evil people in the world. But I've had this conversation with people before, and I know, there wouldn't be such thing as good without evil. Evil wouldn't exist if it wasn't for good, and vice versa. Things like that don't exist without the opposite or the other. It's definitely a conversation that I've had, and it is true. But hopefully, I want to make it's nice. I feel like sometimes it just feels like evil outweighs the good, or like there's a lot more evil than there is good. But I also want to say that there is more good that there's more good in the world than there is bad or evil. But see, stories like this, really, people, should be inspiring to you. I want to use this platform right now, send some sort of a positive message, spread positivity in the world, spread good. Do that, just at least have, somewhere to have, be considered a safe haven, But really, you guys, I really hope you guys are enjoying the book. I really am enjoying the book. I'm getting excited. I feel like I can like picture it in my head, and that's what you guys can do too. That's like, reading is like TV in your head. You can picture it any way you want. So I really hope you guys appreciate it, and hopefully in a way can affect people in a positive way. So they've had many obstacles, and they knew it would be they knew going into it that it wouldn't be a smooth ride, but they're slowly making their way through, and we'll see where they continue in the next chapter, called Measure Twice, Cut Once is the name of chapter 9. So that'll be next time. All right. Well, thank you, Rappies, very much. Hope you guys enjoyed this Ryan Zay reading. Love you all to death. God bless you, and I'll see you next time. All right. Bye.